The hospital room was a sterile cage of beeping monitors and harsh fluorescent lights, casting a cold glow over Emily Harper's pale face. At 32, she lay immobilized, her left leg encased in a heavy cast, her chest aching from 2 fractured ribs. The pain was a constant reminder of the accident that had landed her here, a split-second decision that saved her 8-year-old nephew, Liam, from a speeding car. 42 days had passed since that fateful afternoon, and Emily was still grappling with the reality of her sacrifice. She had pushed Liam out of harm's way as a pickup truck barreled through a red light in downtown Seattle. The impact had thrown her to the asphalt, leaving her broken but alive. The doctors called her survival a miracle. Yet, as the days dragged on, a deeper wound festered, one that no surgery could mend. Emily had always been the backbone of her family. For years, she'd funneled money to her parents, Margaret and Richard Bennett, to keep them afloat in their modest Tacoma home, a property Emily legally owned and paid the mortgage for. She'd covered Liam's private school tuition, bought groceries, and even built him a treehouse in the backyard when he was just 3. Her younger sister, Jessica, had moved back in with their parents after a messy divorce, bringing Liam along. Emily didn't mind the financial strain. She saw it as her duty. Despite a strained relationship with her parents, marked by their endless complaints and subtle manipulations, she believed they shared a fragile but functional bond. Family traditions, Thanksgiving dinners, summer barbecues, kept them tethered. Or so she thought. But now, lying in her hospital bed, Emily faced a brutal truth. Not one of them had visited her. Not her mother, who always had an excuse. Not her father, who preferred his recliner and a beer over anything else. Not even Jessica, who Emily had bailed out countless times. The absence stung worse than the physical pain. Her husband, Nathan, was her only constant, showing up nearly every day with Tupperware containers of homemade chili or lasagna. His warm presence a lifeline in the sterile hospital ward. One evening, as he packed up to leave, Nathan hesitated by the door, his brow furrowed. Do you want to call your parents? Maybe talk things out? Emily's stomach twisted. Talk about what? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan's eyes betrayed his frustration, his jaw tight as he avoided mentioning the obvious, her family's absence during her 28-day ordeal. Instead, he pulled out his phone and sat beside her. I was paying some bills from our joint account, the one you share with your parents. He said softly, there's something you need to see. He scrolled through a banking app, revealing a series of transactions that made Emily's blood run cold. Since her accident, thousands of dollars had vanished from the account she'd set up to help her family. Withdrawals for upscale restaurants, designer clothing stores, and, most galling, a family trip to Disneyland, booked while she was still in the ICU. The numbers blurred as Emily's heart pounded. Over $5 gone in a month. Nathan's voice was gentle but firm. They've been spending like you're not even here. Emily's mind raced, piecing together the betrayal. She'd been sending them money for years, believing their claims of financial hardship. Yet here they were, living it up while she fought to walk again. That night, unable to sleep through the pain and anger, Emily made a call she'd been dreading. Her mother, Margaret, answered with her usual clipped tone, as if Emily's call was an inconvenience. Mom, when are you coming to see me? Emily asked, her voice trembling with hope and dread. Margaret sighed, the sound of clinking dishes in the background. The hospital's clear across town. Emily, gas prices are through the roof. We've got our own stuff going on. Emily's grip tightened on the phone. Stuff? I've been in here for weeks. Mom, I almost died saving Liam. Margaret's response was a knife to the heart. Oh, stop being so dramatic. You're not worth the gas money. Emily, get better or don't. We've got lives to live. The words hung in the air, sharp and final. Before Emily could respond, Liam's small voice came through, hesitant and rehearsed. I'm fine without you, Aunt Emily. The call ended with a soft click, leaving Emily staring at the phone, tears streaming down her face. The betrayal cut deeper than any injury. For years, she'd poured her heart and savings into her family, only to be discarded when she needed them most. The next morning, Nathan brought her laptop to the hospital. Together, they dug deeper into the financial records. The evidence was undeniable: weekly ATM withdrawals, charges at luxury boutiques, and a travel agency payment for a weekend getaway. Emily's blood pressure spiked, setting off the monitors again. A nurse rushed in, but Emily waved her off. Her focus locked on the screen. "They've been lying to me," she whispered, her voice thick with rage. "All those years they said they were broke." Determined to reclaim her life, Emily contacted a lawyer named Sarah Coleman, who agreed to meet at the hospital. Sarah, a sharp woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense demeanor, listened as Emily recounted the story, her sacrifice, her family's absence, and the stolen money. Sarah's pen moved furiously across her notepad. "They didn't visit you once in 42 days?" she asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. "And they went to Disneyland?" Emily nodded, showing Sarah the bank statements and screenshots Nathan had saved from her parents' social media posts of Margaret, Richard, Jessica, and Liam grinning with Mickey Mouse. Captioned, "Family Adventure of a Lifetime." Sarah laid out Emily's options. As the legal owner of the Tacoma house, Emily could evict her family and reclaim the property. The joint account could be frozen, and the unauthorized withdrawals pursued as theft. Emily's decision was immediate. "I want my house back," she said, her voice steady for the first time in weeks. "And I want them to face the consequences." Sarah nodded, drafting an eviction notice that gave her family 30 days to vacate. Emily also instructed Sarah to ensure Liam's tuition and basic needs would be covered through a trust managed by a third party to avoid direct contact with her family. As Emily prepared for discharge, Nathan kept tabs on her family's social media. A new post from Jessica revealed their next plan: a trip to the Bahamas, scheduled for the following month. "They think I'm still stuck here," Emily said, a spark of determination in her eyes. "They have no idea I'm onto them." With Sarah's guidance, Emily devised a plan dubbed Operation Clean Slate. While her family was away, she would reclaim her house, every piece of furniture, every appliance she'd paid for, leaving them with nothing but their personal belongings. The day of her discharge arrived, and Nathan helped Emily into their SUV, carefully arranging the back seat to keep her leg elevated. As they drove away from the hospital, Nathan asked, "You sure you don't want to tell them you're out?" Emily's lips curled into a faint, resolute smile. "No. Let them think I'm still bedridden. It's time they learn what it means to lose everything." Back at their Seattle apartment, Emily felt both liberated and suffocated. The quiet was deafening without the constant hum of hospital machines. But her mind was far from quiet. She was plotting. The next morning, over breakfast burritos Nathan had whipped up, he hesitated before handing her his phone. "I don't know if you want to see this," he said. It was Margaret's Instagram, boasting photos from their Disneyland trip. Margaret and Richard sipping cocktails by a pool. Jessica posing with Liam on a roller coaster. The caption reading, "Living our best life." Emily's hands shook, but instead of rage, a cold clarity settled over her. She opened her laptop and began typing a list. Freeze joint account. File restraining order. Inventory assets. Track every cent they took. Operation Clean Slate was in motion. And Emily was ready to give her family exactly what they deserved, nothing more, nothing less. The Seattle rain tapped relentlessly against the windows of Emily Harper's apartment, a rhythmic reminder of the storm brewing within her. At 32, she was finally free from the hospital, her legs still aching from the accident that had nearly claimed her life while saving her 8-year-old nephew, Liam. But the physical pain paled in comparison to the betrayal she'd uncovered: her parents, Margaret and Richard Bennett, and her sister, Jessica, had siphoned over $5 from her bank account while she lay in a hospital bed, funding lavish dinners, shopping sprees, and a Disneyland trip. Their absence during her 42-day recovery was a wound that cut deeper than any broken bone. Now, back in her apartment with her husband, Nathan, by her side, Emily was ready to reclaim her life, and her property. The plan, dubbed Operation Clean Slate, was born from a mix of righteous anger and cold calculation. Emily's lawyer, Sarah Coleman, had confirmed that the Tacoma house, where her parents and sister lived rent-free, was legally hers. She'd paid every mortgage installment, every utility bill, and even furnished the place with her own money. The eviction notice Sarah drafted gave them 30 days to vacate. But Emily knew her family too well, they'd ignore it, assuming she'd back down as she always had. That was their mistake. Nathan's discovery of their upcoming Bahamas trip, carelessly posted on Jessica's Instagram, was the opening Emily needed. "They think I'm still in the hospital," she told Nathan, her voice steady with resolve. "Let's use that." Sarah coordinated with a local sheriff and a professional moving company, ensuring every step was legal and documented. Emily's instructions were precise. Remove everything she owned, furniture, appliances, even the curtains she'd bought, and relocate them to a storage unit or her Seattle apartment. The Bahamas trip was set for a Friday to Sunday getaway, giving Emily a 48-hour window to execute her plan. She texted her family from her hospital bed, feigning weakness. "Docs are keeping me longer. Phone signal's bad. I'll call when I can." Margaret replied with a curt thumbs-up emoji. No hint of concern. Emily's heart hardened. They were walking into her trap. Oblivious. On Saturday morning, as her family lounged on a Caribbean beach, the operation began. The sheriff arrived at the Tacoma house with Sarah's paperwork, his badge glinting in the gray dawn. A moving crew followed, hauling out leather sofas, a flat-screen TV, and even the stainless steel fridge Emily had bought during a Black Friday sale. Emily, still on crutches, watched from her apartment via a live feed from hidden security cameras she'd had installed weeks earlier, tiny devices tucked into a smoke detector, a bookshelf, and a kitchen clock. The house was stripped bare in hours, leaving only her family's personal belongings in neatly labeled boxes. By dusk, the place was a hollow shell, echoing with the absence of Emily's generosity. Sunday evening, Emily and Nathan sat on their couch, eyes glued to the tablet streaming the camera feed. The front door of the Tacoma house swung open, and Richard stepped in, tanned and dragging a suitcase. His smile vanished as he froze, the suitcase thudding to the floor. "Margaret, get in here," he shouted, his voice cracking. Margaret bustled in, her designer sunglasses perched on her head. "What the hell is this?" she demanded, her laughter turning to panic as she spun in the empty living room. Jessica and Liam followed, Jessica's jaw dropping as she clutched her phone, and Liam's wide eyes darting around in confusion. Richard stormed through the house, his face reddening. "We've been robbed," he bellowed, punching a wall so hard the camera shook. Margaret dialed 911, her voice hysterical. "Someone's broken in. Everything's gone, furniture, clothes, everything." Jessica, pacing, muttered, "This is Emily. That eviction notice, she did this." The police arrived within minutes, but the sheriff's paperwork silenced their outrage. "This is a lawful eviction," an officer explained. "The owner, Emily Harper, reclaimed her property. Your belongings are in storage. Contact her attorney." Margaret's scream pierced the feed. "Our daughter made us homeless. What kind of monster does this?" Richard's face was a mask of fury and shame, while Jessica sank to the floor, head in her hands. Liam stood by the window, silent, staring at the street. Emily watched it all, her heart a tangle of vindication and sorrow. They hadn't once mentioned her suffering, only their own loss. The fallout was swift. Emily froze the joint account, filed for a restraining order, and ensured Liam's school fees were paid through a trust, keeping her family at arm's length. A week later, Sarah arranged a mediation session at her downtown office, a neutral ground where Emily could face her family. Nathan insisted on being there, his presence a quiet shield. Emily arrived early, her crutches clicking on the polished floor. Sarah poured coffee, her voice calm but firm. "You've done nothing wrong, Emily. This is your call." When the door opened, Margaret, Richard, and Jessica shuffled in, looking diminished. Richard's usual swagger was gone, his eyes ringed with exhaustion. Margaret wore a plain sweater, a far cry from her usual designer flair. Jessica clutched a locket with Liam's photo, her eyes red from crying. Sarah set the rules: no threats, no insults, or the meeting would end. Richard spoke first. his voice breaking. Emily, why? Why would you do this to us? Emily met his gaze, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. Why? I was in the hospital for 42 days. Fighting to live after saving Liam. You didn't visit once. Instead, you stole $5 from my account for vacations and shopping. Margaret bristled. We needed a break. You've always had money to spare. Nathan's voice cut through. Icy with restraint. Money to spare? Emily paid your mortgage, your bills, Liam's tuition, over $8 a year. And you call that a break? Jessica's voice wavered. Now we have nothing. Liam's got no stable home. Emily's eyes flashed. That's on you. I saved Liam's life. And you told me to die or get better fast. You partied while I was hooked to machines. The room fell silent. Richard's face crumpled, but Margaret doubled down. You're abandoning your family, she spat. Emily laughed bitterly. Family? I gave you everything. And you gave me nothing but betrayal. Sarah stepped in, outlining Emily's terms. Their belongings were in storage. Liam's expenses were covered through a trust. But all support for the adults was done. The restraining order would stand. As Emily and Nathan left, Jessica grabbed her arm, tears streaming. Liam didn't do anything wrong, she whispered. Emily softened but held firm. I'll always love Liam, but you made your choices. Back in their apartment, Emily felt a weight lift. The spring rain had stopped, and sunlight broke through the clouds, warming her face. Nathan squeezed her hand. You okay? He asked. Yeah, she replied, a genuine smile breaking through. I'm free. Her family's lives unraveled in the aftermath. Margaret took a cashier job at a grocery store, her hands chapped from cleaning. Richard worked nights at a warehouse, his pride battered. Jessica bounced between low-paying jobs, her nights filled with arguments with their parents. Their new apartment was a far cry from the Tacoma house, leaky pipes, stained walls, and a chill that never left. Christmas was bleak, a cheap plastic tree replacing the lavish decorations Emily once funded. Liam, though, remained a bright spot, quietly thanking Emily in secret phone calls. I knew it was you helping me, he whispered one night. I missed you every day. 2 years later, Emily's limp was barely noticeable. She and Nathan were expecting their first child, a daughter, due in a few months. The nursery was painted soft lavender, a symbol of the new life they were building. Rooted in love and respect, Emily never forgot her family's betrayal, but she refused to let it define her. Liam's visits, always under the radar, were a reminder that some bonds could endure. As she stood in the nursery, hand on her growing belly, Emily felt a quiet triumph. She had reclaimed her life, her home, and her future, and no one could take that away.